something that was strong in all of the artworks was the idea of home, as well as the idea of making. So our title, Homemade Home, refers to the concept, the feeling, and the materials of home. One of the things that we talked about with the artists was using the gallery space, which is a former fire station, and thinking about how we transform this space into something immersive that brings out that feeling of home, the homeliness, sense of place, material, and belonging.
So this work is titled Going in Circles. When I was editing the videos, I was interested in this kind of circular idea of creating a rhythm, like a movement, the sense of the traffic. A lot of the footage is actually going in roundabouts and doing kind of full circles of roundabout. I actually got quite dizzy when I was editing it, and I liked that kind of sense that I got really disorientated, and at the same time there's this notion of the viewer doesn't necessarily know the whereabouts of the locations. I wanted the viewers to, when they walk into the space, to get a sense of this kind of clashing of sounds, the clashing of the car engine, to really hear this kind of movement through space and be part of that as well. That was really important to me. Also the clash of language, because it's a foreign language, the videos are subtitled, but I still think you get the notion of the voices clashing and overlapping each other and interrupting each other. So I chose to display the videos on sand and standard 15 inches tires, car tires. And I choose sand because I'm interested in the sort of fragile and more industrial components of sand, that it's made of little grains, and individually it's quite a weak material, but together it's very strong. We use it for making concrete, for example. Yeah, I would like to say a really big thank you to Black Horse Tires in Arklow and Dublin. Edward and Ned has been really nice and helpful. I contacted Edward before Christmas to get all these wonderful tires, but I didn't realize that he was actually working in the Arklow branch, so I only realized that a few days before I actually needed him. So he has been really helpful, and he contacted the Black Horse Tires in Cabra, and then it's been a whole story of them driving them down, and they've been super great. So I'm very thankful to, and they also bring it back for recycling, so it's all good.
What drew me to create wallpaper, I was in my final year. My technician in the print room, Connell, made a joke about creating wallpaper and how it was his nightmare when students came to create it, and I was laughing about it, but the idea stuck with me, and my lecturers pushed me to create wallpaper, as a lot of my process included taking over rooms and eradicating white space. So I walked into the print room and I said, Connell, I'm going to create wallpaper. And the look on his face just was brilliant, actually. There was a lot of trial and error. You don't really know, well, I'm sure other printers do, but I don't really know how a print's going to turn out until I have it on the paper. I could love it or I could hate it. Any space that was around me was always white. The walls were always white and used to really annoy me. I just wanted to fill them with colour, and colours that capture you in and pull you in. And that's when I started reading up on colour and the meanings behind colour, and my interest in advertisement and psychology behind advertisement and how you can capture a viewer in just by colours. It all came together and it really interested me. So I started working with the brightest colours I could, and colours that didn't seem to go well, like red and yellow on top of blue, which you would never put in like an interior bedroom or something. I thought, brilliant. We'll push a message through that and that'll capture someone's eye. What I love now that it's up and everything's here, I feel like it really stands over you. You feel kind of pulled into the space. You're no longer walking through a space as a viewer, the art is taking over you. And that's something I really wanted to kind of get across in my work, and something I've always worked with is pushing the viewer into the art rather than them standing just looking at it.
So the idea for this work came from a conversation I was having with a friend of mine regarding her child bringing home a grass head from school, and so these grass heads are made from their grass seeds and soil, and the child would put them into a stocking and then bring them home and watch them grow hair, and they would decorate them. And it was this idea of seeing something growing and being nurtured in a kind of safe space on their windowsill. And it made me think about how not every child in Ireland at the moment has that. So the idea was that they would form this, they would be part of this web that they can't break free from. So it started as, you know, just like a web would, I suppose, and then it was kind of built up and grew into the space that way. So how I put them together is I bought nylon stockings, and you cut them and you put a little bit of grass seed in them and a little bit of soil. You tie them up and then you give them some water, and over time they start to flourish and grow. And so each one, they were done in batches, obviously, because they took quite a long time to do. So they will grow and they will die then at different stages. Yeah, it was quite exciting. It felt almost like a performance work doing it, because it was you know, it was an installation that was developing and being figured out as it was made. So yeah, that was a really exciting aspect of it as well.
So you can see behind me Carrie Anne's big, bold, billboard-like artworks stretching right up to the ceiling, and then in front of that you're encountering Ella's, which has different viewing spaces. You have to orientate yourself differently to view some of the screens that are in the tires. So it creates, I suppose, a relationship to your body, and you have to navigate the artworks. In the back space then, you walk down the corridor and you kind of find yourself quietening down. The back space is much darker, much more intimate than the kind of bold statement in the front space. So together these artworks bring about, I suppose, an opportunity to think about home from a different perspective.